And we're good to go.
All right, good evening and welcome to this conversation on Thursday, where on Tuesday, in fact, local authorities in Mira Road had in fact used the bulldozer on what they called illegal structures in the entire Mira Road area, and they demolished a lot of shops. Now, this was the same area called Nayanagar, where violence had broken out just 2 days prior, just ahead of the Ram Temple inauguration. Now, in that violence, from reports we understand that three or four cars bearing the orange flag that was used to celebrate the Ram Mandir inauguration was vandalized by a group of about 12 or 13 people from Nayanagar in Mira Road. Now, the Eknath Shinde-led government has said the action against illegal shops and houses where stones were pelted at that procession led by Hindus was in fact just a routine drive to remove illegal construction. Now, you'll remember that media has covered this now, calling it bulldozer action. This has now become a common term that everybody recognizes and acknowledges. Bulldozer action comes a day after Deputy Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis made a statement saying strict action. Also, there was a BJP MLA who tweeted effectively that saying what happened in Mira Road, remember one thing, ek cheez yaad rakhna, chun chun ke marenge. Now, these were statements that came from leaders. The police have said that clashes broke out in the area after some people took out a rally raising slogans for the Ram Mandir, and a mob with rods and sticks and bats attacked that rally. The police have registered cases against 50 to 60 people, and 13 people are currently in custody. We also understand that the police have put out, orders saying that the visuals from Mira Road should not go viral in order to maintain the peace. Now, I want to specifically, examine bulldozer action. While the police and while the authorities have said that this has nothing to do with the violence that happened 2 days ago, we've seen a pattern of this emerge across the country. Let me give you a couple of other instances. In Madhya Pradesh, illegal structures were demolished in April 2022 after communal clashes around Ram Navami procession. Chief Minister Sivraj Singh Chauhan, who was Chief Minister then, earned the name Bulldozer Mama as a result of it. But it wasn't his idea. He had borrowed the idea from his colleague, Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh, Yogi Adityanath, who's known as Bulldozer Baba, for similar action that he undertakes in his space. Also, we know that in Delhi's Jahangirpuri, April 2022, Hanuman Jayanti procession faced communal clashes, and similar demolitions had started. The Supreme Court, though, intervened in that case. We've had bulldozer action in Kanpur, Assam's Nagaon. We've had it in Madhya Pradesh, in Gujarat's Anand and Himatnagar, and in Haryana's Nuh, you'll remember. In October last year, in Ujjain in Madhya Pradesh, a man who was accused of raping a 12-year-old girl was arrested. Immediately after that, his house was demolished in contention that it stood on government land. Here are the questions that we have to ask. One, if these were illegal constructions, was due procedure followed when those constructions were demolished? Two, what about the rights of the other people who own those shops? If you are accused of one crime, is it okay to demolish your houses based on an accusation? What about due process of law? To help us answer these questions right now, we have two guests joining us. Mr. Kailash Vasdev is a senior advocate at the Supreme Court of India, and Mr. Asif Bhamla is with the BJP. He's a spokesperson. Gentlemen, good evening and thank you for joining us. Mr. Bhamla, I want to understand from you first, from within the BJP in Maharashtra, was due process followed in the in the demolitions in Mira Road? From what we understand, BBC Hindi has carried a story where these people were told they weren't even given enough time to take the money out of the till from their shops. Their produce, their onions, their tomatoes were still in the shops when it was demolished. Was the law broken here by the shop owners or by the bulldozers, Mr. Bhavla?
Well, you see, I myself come from a from a minority background, and of course, I understand that this is an incident which does put a lot of the entire minority community with on a question mark. If you ask me, incidences and instances like this. I mean, Hindustan kahiye, Maharashtra kahiye, has always survived on its Ganga Jamnai Tehzeeb, if you know that. Now, apparently, the Pran Pratishthan has been something which our Hindu brothers have been really looking forward to. This is something which is celebrated across the country more than a Diwali or more than something which they've emphasized for years from now. So, having said that, I mean, not that I'm here to pinpoint any of the Muslim brothers or to condemn any of the non-Muslim people, because I don't want to make this a Hindu-Muslim debate. I want to make this a debate, based on the facts that have come out. Now, if you see, it may look 6 to you from there, but it looks 9 to me from here. So there is a variation in the thought process, in the mindset also. Down the level, I understand the statement that you read out of the local MLA. Now, she's the MLA of the BJP. That's not the voice of the BJP. And let me tell you, she was an independent. She has won an MLA as an independent candidate from there. So you can't just jump into that. That is a statement from there. Now, coming back to what happened at the Nyanagar there, and of course, that was just 2 days before the Pran Pratishtha. Uh, a set of minority people out there, they pelted some stones and they used some abusive languages and stuff like that. And of course, to that, there was a reaction. Now, I tell my own community people also, being a Muslim and minority, that हमें यहाँ coexist करना है. यहाँ हमें इस राज्य ने, इस देश ने तमाम वो आज़ादियाँ दी है जो पाकिस्तान जैसे मुल्क में माइनॉरिटीज को नहीं दिया जाता. Which is why हिंदुस्तान को हम हिंदुस्तान बोलते हैं, और इसी वास्ते ये भरोसा आज तक के वापस आया है हमारे देश में. Now, when we're talking about coexisting, and we also see Ramzan. I myself, we have a huge arrangement while the month of Ramzan goes for 30 days at a strategic spot near the Bandra Jama Masjid. So, हमें जब हमारे त्योहार होते, चाहे वो हमारे ईद मिलादुल नबी का जो प्रोसेशन रहता है, तो एंड एट द सेम टाइम हिंदुओं के भी रहते हैं, चाहे वो गणपति हो, दिवाली हो वगैरह, तो हमें पीसफुली कोएग्जिस्ट करना है. तो इस किस्म की हरकतें, अब ये जो हरकत हुई है, दिस इज नॉट अ इंसिडेंट which the community endorses, or which see, this is a section. ये जो जिहादी सोच वाले लोग हैं,
no, 1 second. No, I agree with you. I completely agree with you. But the question is not about the communal clashes. The police has done its job here in this case. It has registered cases. It has already picked up 13 people, and that is a procedure of the law. And as we know, Maharashtra police, Mumbai police tends to be very prompt on these things, and they've done their job. My question is about the bulldozers. I want to understand from your point of view, and your party is currently running Maharashtra government. From your point of view, was the bulldozer action in Mira Road connected with the clashes? Was there a message that was being sent out through that action?
Well, there are two aspects to it. Of course, there have been many complaints with regard to the illegal activity that have been happening in the past. But of course, there was no action. But now this, because it has happened at a time when a situation like that is aroused, so definitely anybody, I mean, whether it be you, me, or anybody would connect that with that incident. But why do we lead, or why does the community let this to lead to a situation like this? I mean, why do we get into an act or a handful of Muslims, or maybe even a handful of Hindus? I mean, देखिए, मैंने कहा ये जिहादी जो है, ये extremist जो है, ये अपने आप में community है, चाहे वो हिंदुओं की हो या मुसलमानों की हो. तो ये इनका काम ये है कि वर्गलाना लोगों में आपसी तनाव क्रिएट करना, और इसी से वो अपनी रोटियां सेकते हैं, और इससे पूरी कम्युनिटी बदनाम होती है, whether it is a Hindu or a Muslim, and innocent people are put and
Okay.
booked also in this. I understand that, somewhere.
Okay, Mr. Bhamla, I have one more question before I bring in Mr. Vasudev. Like I read out before we started, bulldozer action is now being used in Madhya Pradesh, in Maharashtra. This is Maharashtra for the first time. In Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Assam, and Haryana, these are all BJP ruled states. Is this now an idea that runs across the party that this will be used to send a message?
See, we have a prime minister who has always propagated that मैं मुसलमानों को एक अलग मैं एक उस नजरिए से देखता हूँ कि एक हाथ में कुरान हो और एक हाथ में कंप्यूटर हो. तो जब वो कहते हैं तो he somewhere now he is there on the top. So he definitely means, अगर आपने देखा होगा time and again, I mean, you're coming back to your Mumbai, Maharashtra, a few months back we had the honorable prime minister unveil the mosque. The entire Middle East, जो मुसलमान देश है, उन्होंने उनको बड़े से बड़े पुरस्कारों से नवाजा है. तो ऐसा नहीं है कि सोच और मानसिकता है. It's just that the opposition is of course doing its job. अब इसमें भी जो है एक आग में तेल लगाने का काम कहीं ना कहीं कुछ लोगों ने किया होगा. Now I can't blame this because I don't have any concrete evidences, and of course they are in the opposition to it. It's their job to ensure that that put the BJP in bad light against the Muslim, because this is their vote bank. Perhaps all parties would do that. I mean,
All right.
the BJP does that with the non-Muslims,
Okay.
and they're doing it with the Muslims. So I mean,
Okay.
I somehow don't want to coordinate this and don't want to get into that tangent of discussion.
All right. So let me just put one thing out very clearly. In the cases that I read out where bulldozer action, and unfortunately I'm using the term now because the mainstream media has made it up, but here we are. Bulldozer action has not always been used against members of the Muslim community. In Ujjain, it was used, the man accused of raping the 12-year-old girl was not Muslim. His house was demolished as well. The question of this debate is the use of bulldozers against those accused of crime. It's actually not about which community the members of those accused of crime are from. So let me bring in Mr. Vasdev. Mr. Kailash Vasdev, this is obviously extrajudicial and very dangerous. Where does the law stand, Mr. Vasdev?
Judicial views. The law is on its own level, political considerations are at their own level. The law says you must give a show cause notice. On the other side, there is a specific provision in the CRPC of stealing areas when there is a breakdown of law and order, 150, 151 CRPC and the like. I'm not aware of any specific provision which says that where there is a breakdown of law and order, you can run the building down. That is the power of the municipal authorities. Illegal construction, encroachments, having it built something on government land, all those sort of things. That there you're entitled to an encroachment or an illegal construction, but there also a notice has to be given. What is happening today is there's a certain level of desire all around that you must scotch this at the right beginning. To do that, we are taking recourse to these extra constitutional measures. Hit them hard, shut them up. I'm sorry I'm using crass language in this kind of a thing, because it's only if you hit them hard will they keep quiet. Whether it's any community, we've seen the bulldozer in full action. We've seen it in Prayagraj, we have seen it in Kanpur, we have seen it in Bombay, Mumbai, in the Maharashtra state. We've seen it bobs all over the place. We saw it in Calcutta for a change. But as I said, these are unconstitutional methods. I don't know. I wouldn't support this at all, because you don't know whose property you're demolishing. You may be a tenant there. If he's a tenant in that property, why should the landlord suffer? He doesn't know what the background of the man is. It may be a momentary flare-up. If it's a momentary flare-up, why should somebody else's property be pulled down? Catch the person who's responsible. You've chosen to do so. You've lodged FIRs in this recent incident on the outskirts of Bombay. People have been arrested. They've been taken into custody. But why pull down buildings? There, you must call upon the municipal authorities or the concerned authorities under the Development Acts and so on and so forth. And here is another question which becomes very interesting. We are becoming a country where land is not, all over the world, God is not making land anymore except in the back bay reclamation. where you're reclaiming seas and building by buildings, etc. But the fact of the matter is, land is scarce. Everybody wants a roof over his head, however he gets it. For the average man, it's the political support which he gets in occupying illegal properties. He gets it, then the demolition doesn't take place. You're seeing instances in Bombay, see Dharavi, you see the other areas, they're all illegally occupied areas. Why don't you pull them down? You see the areas around Kolaba. I mean, I'm not a great Bombay man, but every time I visit there, I find that the number of unauthorized constructions have gone up. You can't expand the airport because of unauthorized occupations, and you get the political support. You are putting aircraft at risk, but you're not getting rid of unauthorized occupants. So you see, it's becoming a very powerful conundrum where there is no answer excepting for a strong political decision that we won't support this. Here, I have a caveat also against our own courts. In 1984, when the Bombay pavement dwellers case came up, 5 judges of the Supreme Court said, no, you can occupy public land. Pray tell me, where did the Supreme Court get that idea and that power from? The Constitution doesn't say that you can occupy any other areas. It doesn't say that you can take care of other people's land and live there. You've stopped planned growth. And the consequence of this is you have the pavement dweller cases, you have the pavement resident cases, and now you have the unauthorized occupations of government land, which are occupying 40% of government lands all over the country at the cost of the taxpayer. So that public trust element is what I'm worried about. Tomorrow somebody comes and pitches a tent outside your house. The politicians won't support you. Then laga do yaar. You got a house to stay. You see, it's not the right thing to do. We've got to somewhere bring in the law and put our foot down. We cannot permit this exploitation. I mean, you're all residents of Bombay. You see what's happened in the best of colonies? I use the word best of colonies because they're the old planned colonies. Whether it's South Bombay, whether it is the new areas which have come up beyond Bandra, they're all planned areas. But why do you permit slums? Why do you permit people to come and occupy them unauthorizedly? Why can't you demolish them? Vote banks. How many votes do you get? Do you realize what you're doing to the taxpayers' money? You're destroying it. See, these are wider considerations. But as I said, you must give a notice, however bad, however terrible, however troublesome the area is, because without that, it is not fair on the individual. I mean, you have a tenant in your house.
Yeah.
You come and pull him down. He's a rapist, but you are not an abettor to rape, but your building is gone. You see, these are the kind of things you have to look at. Bulldozing the house is the easiest job because the bulldozer can't be stopped. Everybody runs away. Yes, but
Also,
there are other.
Mr. Vasdev, yeah, I want to ask you one more question. And I want to point out that the actress Kangana Ranaut's balcony and an extension of her home was demolished in Mumbai when she had questioned the Shiv Sena government at that time. It was a different government, and they used the bulldozer in their favor. But I also want to say, when there's a home and there are people living in that home, even if, let's assume for argument's sake, one accused is there, what about the rights of the rest of the family? Is it fair that they should be homeless?
No, you see, it's not a question of homeless. Then the attitude is harboring a criminal, so therefore you pay the price, which is not correct again. I'm not harboring a criminal by giving out a house. I don't know who the man is. I've reported to the police. This is my new tenant. Please come and verify his antecedents. That's the law now. Police verifies it, says, no, he's a good man. Suddenly you turn around and says, my God, what have I done? But then verify facts, check your situations. You may not have a right of property with Article 19(1)(f) has been removed by the 42nd Amendment. But the fact is you have a right to occupy what you have. You can't pull it. Even in the demolition of slums, we are seeing it now in Delhi. You rehabilitate, then pull down. You relocate, then pull down. Why doesn't this apply across the board? I'm not speaking of which community. I'm not concerned with it. I'm a secular Indian and I hope I die that way. Because this country is a very fabulous country. The kind of rights people have, the constitutional protections, the available opportunities to do what you want, the absolute freedoms, you don't get them. I think 60% of the countries around the world. Mr. Bhamla would know about rights all over the world more than I would. Because they are well versed in parliamentary practices. They're well versed in the communal feelings all over. They travel, they visit, they learn. We only learn from the textbooks. So my
Mr.
view
Bhamla,
is,
yes. Mr. Vasdev, let me take that question to Mr. Bhamla. Mr. Vasdev making a very, very clear point about the city of Mumbai, which you and I both reside in and you and I both love very deeply. There are lots of slums in Mumbai. There are lots of illegal constructions in Mumbai. Every street corner, in fact, has an illegal construction, illegal shops. Outside every train station, there are illegal shops. Why only Naya Nagar in Mira Road? Was that messaging? Was due process followed? And at the end of the day, is it about finally vote banks and political strength, Mr. Bhamla?
Mr. Bhamla, you're on mute.
Illegal slum developments have been. Is it okay now? Can you
Yes,
hear?
yes, we can hear you.
Loud and clear.
Have been there across Mumbai. I certainly agree with what Mr. Vasudev says, and certainly it's been happening over the years. And again, now the governments come out with legalizing in X number of years, and then they get a rehabilitation there, and then they're rehoused there, and so on and the other. But now in this particular case, now coming back to UP, it's a very interesting thing. I mean, not that I have to favor or support a government there in particular. Of course, definitely it's a government which of a party which I'm associated with. Yeah, of course.
Yes.
So coming back to that, there has been a lot of appreciation. If there were people like Atik and all who had encroached upon lands, and if you know the CM there, Yogi ji is more popular, is equally popular among Muslims also there, because when he was scaled down, when there were when there was attacks, when there were bulldozing done against his, because he had encroached upon a lot of Muslims also, जो मतलब गरीब घरानों से कभी आया करते थे, to make his malls and stuff like that. So there it has worked. I mean, it's not that it has worked wrongly everywhere, and it's not that it sets a wrong narrative. Because अगर हम कायदे और कानून की यदि बात करें, तो ऑफ कोर्स जो इलीगल है उसे टूटना ही चाहिए. अब कुछ नहीं टूटता है उस पर. Of course, there is I don't disagree with the fact that there are political lineages on that side. There are political patronages on that side. When different governments come, the mindset, of course, it works in that direction, and so on and the other. But certainly, if it is an illegal construction, it has to go off. And I think Bharatiya Janata Party and the current government establishment is very closely looking on an overall crackdown on all such instances, because not only that, when it comes to the encroachments on footpaths and encroachments on various places and spaces, But here the question is that, which I ask to my own brothers, to my community people, is just one simple thing. कि हमें जो इस मुल्क में जो आज़ादी है, जो लेवरेज है, जो अन्य मुल्क में अन्य माइनॉरिटीज को नहीं दी जाती है, तो कहीं ना कहीं हमें अगर को एग्जिस्ट करना है, तो हमें भी वातावरण को एक अच्छे वातावरण को बरकरार रखना चाहिए. उनके सेंटिमेंट्स को भी, यदि वो इंसिडेंट कुछ लोगों के चलते, मैं उसमें मुस्लिम कम्युनिटी को टारगेट करूं या उसमें मुस्लिम कम्युनिटी को पर्टिकुलरली कहूं, तो ये मेरी गलती होगी, क्योंकि कहीं ना कहीं जाकर a handful of people have done a wrong, and for this the entire community is bearing it. Now today, I mean,
Mr. Bhamla, I want to come in for a minute.
Yes, sir. Mr. Vasif, go ahead.
The world is divided in population terms. You have the Christians, you have the Muslims, you have the Hindus, you have the Buddhists, you have all sorts of communities which make the world. We are 7 billion of us. Now, if you look at it in that perspective, some countries are dominated by the Christians, some are dominated by the Muslims. In some places, there is a blend and a mix, like your own country. You have other countries which are Buddhist, like Sri Lanka and Myanmar. So you see, you have a blend all over. Why is it This question, you're a political leader, and I would be enlightened if you could help us out with this. Why is it that in our country or in the countries of the East, there are shanties and the like? You have shanties in a big way in Mexico. You have shanties in a big way in the Latin American countries. They're all becoming centers of, should I say, illegal actions, drug peddling, murders, so on and so forth. I'm pointing this out to you because in those countries, we've had the development of a breakdown of law and order, leading to terrible catastrophes for the local man than we have in our own country. But they come from poverty. We are now moving on to a 5 trillion, 6 trillion, 3 trillion, 5 trillion, 20 trillion economy. We are not poor anymore. The average man on the street manages to get his 15 to 20,000 rupees a month. It is not that he doesn't earn it. Whether he stays in a slum or he stays in he's a white collared man. Some of the slum there are more than the white collared people. My question to you is this: if we are improving the economic lot of our people, why can't we improve the discipline which emanates in a developed country? Because we are saying now we are a developed nation and we want to be number 3, number 4, number 5, whatever. But in certain areas, you are number 100, 200, 300 as far as discipline, as far as corruption is concerned. You see, it is these elements you as politicians have to attend to. You've got to look at this. Bulldozing a house, pulling down somebody's property, arresting some people, having an encounter, that doesn't stop the law and order situation. In UP, you've been able to control it because it is a disaster. The average man on the street
UP
is able
was the worst affected state.
I agree with
UP
you.
was the worst affected.
Today,
Mumbai and Maharashtra, मतलब कहीं कहीं
You
तरीके
are
से
miles
बेहतर
ahead.
है बेहतरीन है.
You are बिल्कुल मानता हूँ बहुत आगे हैं, लेकिन यूपी में ये जरूरी था थोड़ी सी लठबाजी करनी क्योंकि उसी से आपने उनको कंट्रोल किया. लेकिन आप देश को देखिए ना, look at the national image. We have got to have a national. You've got a beautiful temple. I mean, I respect what has happened, but after the temple, let's now get everybody together. Isn't that the intention of governance?
Yes.
We're a secular nation. Move it. We have much to do. Not pull down houses, not pick up people and put them behind bars for no rhyme or reason. I mean, I'm a lawyer and sometimes I feel bad when I see cases coming up for hearing after 10, 15, 20 years. And then you acquit the man. It's a crying shame. You've destroyed the best years of your life because most of the criminals are under the age of 20, 22, 23 when they're arrested. By the time they're released, they're in their 40s. Nobody wants to speak to them. So you see, there is a failure in a system which is supposed to uphold justice. There is a failure in the political echelons because you want to retain power. There is a failure in looking at the future of the nation because we look at short-sighted gains. Can't we somehow change this ethos? Can't we bring about a change? We fight in a judiciary on this. We get judgment from the court. Police can't do this. We can't do this. Well, it's only on paper. It's here that
But can the courts take so much cognizance of the fact that these bulldozers are now rolling in without notice, without enough time to, for people to take their stuff out of those shops?
Haven't they done it? They've done it. They did it in the Delhi case. They did it in the Kanpur case. They've done it. In the courts, whenever they get a chance, they do step in. Well, how much can a court step in? The Supreme Court is a limited court, you see. We can't throw everything in the bin in the Supreme Court and say, you decide. Those judges have constitutional issues to decide. Their individual rights to decide. There are political questions that to be decided of very serious magnitude under the Constitution of India. That's not a court for this. But we still go out of their way to bring about a protection of your basic rights.
Actually,
we've got to address the situation.
My worry is this, and we've seen this again, and I'm speaking from Mumbai's experience. When the encounters and extrajudicial encounters had started to become a really a tool that the police would use very often to deal with the underworld, which at that time people felt was necessary because the underworld had a grip on Mumbai back in the 80s. Over a period of time, those extrajudicial killings started to become supari killings, where policemen would take payment from one businessman to knock off another businessman. It was called supari. When things become extrajudicial, when they're not following the rule of the land or the court of law, and we have bulldozers taking action into their own hands, tomorrow they could take action against absolutely anybody. and call it illegal. You go to court and the court will say, yes, your house was legal, but your house is gone. Mr. Bhamla, where is that line?
No, but if you see in this particular case of whatever I have understood, though I still have not gathered a lot much of an information on this, but certainly the structures were illegal. I mean, I'm sure within with this government in place, they will not certainly pick on just anything and everything. The structures were illegal, and that has come through to through a lot of agencies and through a lot of and of course that patch of the city has been known for a lot of encroachment. Not that the other sides of the city are not having illegal encroachments, but it is, as I said, now the time it has happened. The situation has happened in a time when it's coincided in a way where this is. But then, having said that, they have the doors of the court still open. If there are documentation of the validations of their documents of their of authenticated proof with regards to assessment, taxes, blah blah, all that and the other, whatever is required, a photo pass or whatever, then I'm sure they will. I mean, I'm sure we understand that the judiciary works in a very in a very rational manner. Today we can't blame the governments. Today we can't pinpoint at the governments. And again, this whole case is yet not been wrapped up in as in there is a lot to go beyond this as to who are the instigators. Because what is seen is, of course, there could be a section of people who are innocent or who've done it just out of someone's backing. That also has to be testified, verified, and certified, which I'm sure the government in place is going to do that. And that's what I heard. I mean, there is, I mean, the local leaders, there is the local fundamental groups. You see, ये कैसे होता है? ये हरकतें जो होती है, ये जो any person who's doing it is not the real culprit. There is always something behind that is forces the person who has gone into this act or activity to do that. As I said again, coming back to my own religion and to the festivities of a Muslim community, जब रमजान होता है, मुहर्रम होता है, हम मनाते हैं और वो कई जो है हिंदुओं के द्वार से निकलता है, वो कई जगह ज्वाइन करते हैं. हमने देखा इस राम मंदिर के अवसर पर कई मुसलमानों को भी दावत दी गई थी. They also attended the Ayodhya Pran Pratishthan. So it's not that, but there is always there is always a background to any incident, and specifically this incident, because we also understand the opposition, the parties. I can't blame them now offhand, because then you will say कि अभी आपके हाथ में कोई मसौदा नहीं और आप विरोधी पक्ष को इसमें भी घसीट रहे हैं. But somewhere there could be a story which again is being worked out, and things will be put in the right direction. And if there is something, if a wrong has been bulldozed, if someone who's having the rightful documents, and if someone has been really been tackled in a wrongful manner, I mean, I am sure they could reach out to the state's deputy chief minister. They can reach out to activists also like us, and they can. I mean, we could. I mean, look. We could look.
Mr. Bhamla,
try our best.
if
there is a situation like that, I don't know.
If let's assume, and if someone has a legal structure that has been demolished, and they will reach out to the deputy chief minister, assuming this poor person selling onions on the road has the ability to do that, or to reach out to someone like you, or even go to court, what will you do? You can't reverse time. You can't restore this person's home or this person's shop. And from the visuals that we're seeing, these are not wealthy people. They're not people with access. And obviously, this is being done, going by your answers as well, to send out a message. Mr. Kailash Vasdev, what, according to you, is that message And it's obvious that this is now, I mean, it started in Uttar Pradesh, it's now in Maharashtra. This is something that's going to become commonplace across the country.
The answer to all this is simple. Let's stop anarchy. This is anarchy. You cannot, you should not, as a civilized government or a civilized system or a country with this kind of an ethos and background, take recourse to this. Improve your law and order situations, improve the functioning of the living of the average individuals, and you will find that these aberrations stop. We've seen it in North India. I mean, I can talk more about this because I know these areas. Here, the average farmer is now losing out to builders. You will find that these farmers who have been compensated for their lands have finished their money and then they take recourse to all sorts of actions. Taking away a farmer's land for building is not your answer to the economy. It is not an answer to your environment. Retain the farmer's rights. Plan your growth. You go from Delhi to any part of the India. You go from here to Jaipur. You go from here to Chandigarh. You go from here to Aligarh. You go from here to Mussoorie. You go from here to Haryana. All that you see is buildings. I'm giving this as an example because these are rampant constructions which are lying vacant and they were done towards investments. But the man on the ground who survived with his two crops a year is today deprived of this. He gets a little bit of money and then he goes into penury. Think of all these elements. Governance is not politics all the time. Governance is the nation. I feel very strongly on these. Why do we forget that we are here for the people? Why do we forget that we have a discipline to live to? It's all right. Today we are here. The millennium will go on. We will go away. History will test us. What will history say to be seen? Saddam Hussein was never tested well. On the other side, you have people like Nelson Mandela who went with respect, still revered all over the world. He fought for his countryman's rights. We have people who have done it. We have Radhakrishnans in our country, some of the most brilliant people in the world. You have the best of scientists in the country. Why should we succumb to this? I don't understand. We have much to do in our country. As I said, I would like to die a secular Indian, and I would die that way.
Mr. Bhamla, before I let you go, I have one question that's not on this subject, if that's okay. We also understand that there is a census being conducted in Mumbai where people are being asked about their caste. Is there a caste census that the government of Maharashtra or the government that runs Mumbai is conducting? Are you aware?
Yeah, there should be, and I'm sure there is. It's in process, the caste consensus.
Okay.
And that's
Okay.
important. And I don't see any wrong in a caste consensus that's being conducted. I mean, it's important to know the demographic,
Because
arrangements.
I understand also people are being asked questions like, at what age will you allow your daughter to get married? And will you allow widows to remarry? And will you allow widows to wear tilak after the husband's death? Are these also questions part of a caste census, Mr. Bhamla?
I don't see. I don't think these are. I mean, have you gathered this information from?
Yes, I have. From
From some
areas like
authenticated?
Mulund. Yes,
Huh?
yes.
In terms of the surveys of the caste system that's happened there, is there something concrete that's come out to your way?
These
Is
are
it on that?
questions people are writing to us and saying they're being asked. I just wanted to know if this is from the government or
No,
is someone unofficially doing it.
I don't see this coming from, of course, not from the government side at least. No, I don't see that the government would go to that level or extent
Okay.
because after all, we also are running a government with not just BJP alone, which has got NCP. We've got the Eknath faction of the Shiv Sena. So there is a sizable amount of a minority population which is also supporting the NCP also. There is a sizable
Yes.
amount. There is a sizable amount of minorities who have joined the BJP. If you see, and BJP wants to. In fact, I was there at the conclave in Delhi when the Honorable Prime Minister did mention, even in his speech, and he said that okay, if the minorities and Muslims feel by any chance that they don't want to vote for a Bharatiya Janata Party, it is fine, but that should not stop you from going to the doorstep of that minority resident or that citizen. After all, you're elected representative of the entire constituency or an area. So you go there, you try and convince them, and that was a
Yeah.
conclave where I'm sure you've heard of that also. So on a larger scale and levels, you see things work in a different direction, but coming down, rolling down, like you mentioned, a statement by the local MLA there, or some activists. There are a lot of activists whom I don't agree to. They may be workers of a similar party.
Okay.
But the party themselves would not be agreeing to them also. It's their narrative, it's their mindset. So for everything, there is no accountability that the party is liable or eligible for. But such things, if avoided, is better for the greater good, is what I understand. And if there's some wrongdoings in this, I'm sure the government should and will take an appropriate action, because we have in Devendra Fadnavis ji a leader who definitely does see things in a different and a larger perspective of living and letting
Okay.
everyone live, and we will see that in days to come, because this
All
has
right.
been a recent incident, and there's more to this and more investigation side yet pending, and that's happening, and it will
Okay.
roll out, and I'm sure we'll speak more
All
on
right.
that.
Okay, Mr. Bhamla, thank you for joining us. Mr. Kailash Vasdev, I appreciate your time. We're talking about the bulldozer action that has now become commonplace across the country and the legality of it, and what the law says about using a bulldozer on a home or a shop when someone has been accused of a crime. Mr. Vasudev agreeing that this is completely extrajudicious, is not part of the law as of now. The Supreme Court has, in fact, in Delhi stopped this sort of action, but it does seem to be messaging that is being sent out. We're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for watching. Our idea, as always, is to bring you the news without opinion, and then to bring you the experts who will help you understand the nuance of what is going on in the news. Download the Beetroot app for more news and updates as we continue to try and do our job to the best of our ability. Thank you for watching.